Welcome everybody to Growth Mastermind Group. We are a group of entrepreneurs here to help each other to fulfill and unleash their potential. We are meeting every single Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight we're gonna have a celebrity, a power of the Clubhouse. One of the most, I would say, interesting person to have, to learn from inside of the Clubhouse. One of the I will say pioneer inside of the Clubhouse that managed to teach other personalities like Grant Cardone, Richard Branson, Ty Lopez, in the mastery of the Clubhouse, how to become a celebrity in a MC celebrity. And she's going to teach us more about the Clubhouse and how to moderate in the proper manner. So in that way, you can get out of the obscurity and learn the skills that is necessary for you to become a good MC. And this being said, we're gonna have Jodeen Bergstrom. I'm hoping I'm pronounced correctly. Miss Jodeen, I would like to give you the stage.
Well, thank you so much, Peter, and I'm so excited to be on here. And we are just traveling down the road here. I will be home shortly, so hopefully the internet will be working with us. It's the amazing thing with the power of the technology. We can be on the go, and excited to bring Clubhouse inside secrets to you guys, and look forward to adding value and in any way that I can serve you. If you have any questions, if I don't cover everything, please ask me so I can make sure that we get it all covered for you. So thank you so much for having me, and excited to be here. Thank
you very much. Thank you. Looking forward to hear from your stories, and I will say the tips and points that we need to learn about.
Well, I tell you, I've got lots of stories. I've been in a lot of rooms. The first 2 weeks, I averaged about 79.6 hours each week. So, and now I average about 40 to 50 hours a week with all the time that I put in there. So I've got some stories for sure.
Looking forward to hear them. So tell us like, like as a startup point, what was the idea of you joining the Clubhouse, and what it attracted you, and what it was standing, above everything else that it was back in 2020 when you started?
Right, that's a great question. And so I was actually sent an invite through Russell Brunson. If anybody's familiar with him, he is the co-founder of ClickFunnels. And so he was the one that sent me an invite. And I'd heard about it earlier, and I just didn't feel like there was any reason to get on it. But when I got the invite from Russell, I thought, well, let's check this out. And I also knew that it was going to, at that time, it was about a week, to be on the waiting list to get in. So I figured it was around December 20th when I clicked on the link and got into Clubhouse and got my account set up. And I was like, okay, next week I'll be on here. Well, in about 10 minutes, I was escorted to the front of the Clubhouse, so to speak, and expedited through Kevin Anson. He is a good friend of mine. We do some work together. And so I was on his WhatsApp. And so when he saw that I was coming into Clubhouse, he expedited my invite. And so then when I got on there, I was like, well, I might as well kind of figure out what's going on here. And so, within 10 minutes of getting on the app, I was inside the Clubhouse, and the first person that followed me was Russell Brunson. So I was kind of like, what is what is this all about? Let's see what we can do. So I really stepped onto the app to find my voice, and then more importantly, to just let any of the opportunities that presented themselves, to just take them to the fullest. And that's what I did. So that first day that I was on there, they told me to open a room, and I did that. And guess what? Nobody showed up. Yeah. I sat there for 20 minutes by myself. And I thought, well, this is pretty stupid. Why would you open a room and not have anybody listen to you? And so I just kind of rolled my eyes and kind of threw the app down for the night and said, well, it's not much here. And then the next day I was still a little more intrigued. So I thought, well, I'll go back in and just kind of see, you know, what this is all about. And so when I jumped on that time, I got in and I found the entrepreneurs, and everybody once again just embraced and were very kind and said, you know, open a room and get a club here, fill this out. You know, I was doing everything that they were telling me to do. And I was like, well, I am not opening a room, because I did that yesterday and nobody showed up, and that's stupid. So I'm not doing it. And they're like, no, go back there. Trust me. And so I said, okay, I'll open a room. And so the second room that I opened, I had about 30 to 40 people in there. And one of the people that came through was Kate Hancock. And I was speaking because BC, before Clubhouse, I was doing virtual live summits. So I did a room in regards to how to create a successful virtual live summit. And when I did that, you know, like I said, Kate came in there, and towards the end, she came up on the stage and she said, look, you know how to speak. And I was like, well, yeah, I know how to talk. And she goes, I want to do a room for 24/7. And she goes, will you co-host with me? And I was like, 24/7, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, why would we want to do that? And I said, well, you know, let's talk about it and see what we can do. So long and short of it, on December 25th, we opened up the room, and that was the beginning of 20 consecutive days. And that's when the journey and the ride really started. And we went 24/7, and I didn't do the evening shift. I usually was in there from 8 in the morning until about midnight. So I would go anywhere from 12 to 14 hours a day, and just had a ball with it. It was a lot of fun. Got to meet amazing people. Like I said, that's where I found and was introduced to Ty Lopez, Les Brown. I'd been on a stage with him probably 30 plus years ago. So it was great to be able to talk with him, and he remembered the stage and everything. And so it really just opened up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities. And, you know, through that whole time, that's when I really just made that decision of, you know, how could I serve? And, you know, just really for that 20 days, it was servant leadership. I didn't have any offers. I didn't, you know, ask for any sales or anything like that. I just moderated the room, kept it safe, kept the energy going. And back then we didn't have as many trolls, so that wasn't the real problem. The biggest problem was just people were trying to sell from the stage every once in a while, and you know, we'd kind of have to shut them down. But overall, it was just a fun experience.
And like when your first time with being with all those people, you know, like just as an idea, how it was the idea of moderation, what it was the kind of the learning curve that you went through it at the beginnings to understand, because I'm assuming that everybody that starts on Clubhouse is going through that learning curve, like trying to understand what do I have to do to get on the stage, what I have to be listened, what was the message, or what were the things that was working and what was not working for you to kind of understand.
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, for the room that I was in, it was primarily Q&A. So, and really it was run like a mastermind because we had amazing moderators. In fact, that room, we actually vetted all of the speakers to ensure that they had run $1 million business, because that was the name of the room. It was what it takes to run $1 million business. And so, you know, we made sure we kind of, you know, checked back and looked in the back to make sure that they were had made $1 million in business and that they knew what they were actually talking about, that they could teach it. So that was a big part of what we did. And then it was mostly just Q&A, and we would go in and allow them to ask questions so that we could get them the most information that they could. So I'm laughing. My daughter, I think, just ran over our sand. I'm sorry.
It happens. Let's not focus. Yeah. Can you hear me?
But anyway,
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear. It was
Okay.
it was a little bit off.
Yeah, no, it was switching over to my internet, so I apologize.
Yeah.
But mostly that, and so we really kept it hopping and allowed everybody to ask questions and then have the experts answer it. So, is there a delay? Can you hear me still?
I hear you, but it was a little bit robotic, but now we hear you better. It was
Okay.
a little bit off, and I want to miss anything, so we want to make sure that you're clear on the message. But yes, definitely. And it sounds very intriguing, especially to be in room with all those great people and all that knowledge. What was the kind of, like, I would say, like, takes across the Clubhouse, like the running of a room, like, what was the takes that you learned in those days at the beginning, and how you switch it out in time, or you adjusted in time now with more knowledge of the way you run a room versus what it was at the beginning?
Well, I think one thing that helped me a lot, I have spoken on stages before and, did some emceeing. So that really helped me. But I think, now running a successful room on Clubhouse, there's a lot of analytics that go with it. And, those things we didn't have the knowledge of that. Like, even just doing the PTR, we had people moving through the room so much. We would do the poll to refresh quite often, but we didn't realize that was actually helping the algorithm, because it wasn't until after we closed that room down that they started speaking about that. The other thing too is we didn't realize that our room was so busy with people coming up and off the stage all the time that we didn't really have to worry about that movement. But that's another success tip that helps a room be very successful. And so, I mean, there's just a lot of things that, we did. And it wasn't until after we closed out the room that we really found out that, those were the things that we needed to have a successful room. So I think that's, probably the biggest part and, the most interesting part to me right now.
To refresh it, like pulled out the whole thing to refresh the room. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So when you do that pull to refresh, when you get that little gear icon at the top of the screen, the reason that you do that is to also just align everybody up on the stage, but it will also wake up the algorithm and let everybody in the hallway know that the room is there. So if you're ever in a room and moderating it and you're trying to get your numbers up, doing a lot of the pull to refresh, if you constantly are doing that, that's going to help. And one of the things that I do is I actually tell anybody that gets the red warning sign, the toast sign at the top of the device, and they screenshot that to me, then I will give them an hour or a half hour coaching session. And so I regularly do that just to encourage people to keep doing that pull to refresh.
I think I did it to one of your rooms a lot, and it didn't happen. I'm like, when you told me, I'm like, okay, let me try. And I'm like scrolling down and like quitting. So I have to do it, I have to get to see if it works. I'm always trying new stuff. So somebody telling me to do something, I'm doing until it works.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And it does a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but you can get it to work for sure.
Yeah, I'm assuming you have to do it for about 1 hour and a half, something, because I did it for like 30 minutes and it didn't happen. So I'm assuming you have to be more time into that thing to get that algorithm to appear that red sign.
No, I've gotten it less than that. The big thing is to constantly do it like this, so that as soon as that icon starts moving, do it again. So that's when you'll get the warning sign.
Okay. And what about the mics, flipping of the mics? Is that helping or not?
When people are up on the stage and not there?
When they're on stage and they start to touch the mics, like,
the
on
mic
and off.
claps. Yeah, the mic claps. That does help as well too. And the mic claps is, if anybody's listening to this and they're not sure what that means, that is the sign behind that originally was to note that you were in alignment with what the speaker was saying. And there was actually 2 codes for the mic claps. There was a rapid one, which meant that you were in alignment with what the speaker was saying. And then there was a slow tap, like clap, clap, clap. And what that was supposed to mean was that was supposed to be an indicator to the speaker that, one, you had something important to say, or you were getting ready to leave and you wanted to speak before you left. Not everybody picked up on that, and not many people practice that. So in fact, I don't even think 90% of the people know about that second clap.
It's the first time when I hear that one, to tell the truth. So
yeah, if you go back to the original, it was actually in writing, because I did read about it, and I used to teach it. But like I said, nobody follows it. So
is there any other thing, like any codes that we, because I'm going there and I'm seeing people in and out. I saw one guy, he was keep telling that, he's in and out of the conversation because he's trying to bring more people in. And I'm like, is that working when he in and out? So he was out of the room for a few minutes. He had another MC, and then he was coming back in and go back out. I'm like, okay.
Well, actually, if somebody enters the room and leaves right away, that is not good for the algorithm, because that tells the algorithm that this room doesn't keep your attention. And so then they won't push it to the top of the list. So that's actually not a good practice. One practice that is good sometimes is to take somebody from the stage to the audience and back and forth. And we have done that before to kind of help with things. I think the biggest part when you're starting to, trying to get a successful room going, you got to make sure that you have high number of people on the stage, because it'll send the invites out to the, their followers. That's a big part of it. And then moving of the stage too is really, really important, moving people up and down.
And if you have, like, let's say, because I'm trying to figure out the times where I'm going to start I start, I think so far about 7 or 8 rooms. I didn't have like a lot. I'm not one of those 24/7 person, but I'm learning. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to learn from the best, like yourself, how to do that. However, every time I start the room, we are like maybe 6-7 people to a certain point, maybe a little bit more. Like right here before we start the room, there were a lot of people that said they're gonna come, but then they didn't show up. However, we start to be like talking, and I put everybody on the stage to say it doesn't make any sense in somewhere we're not so many. However, I'm thinking that in the moment you have everybody on the stage, there's not so many people in the group, maybe like 10, 15, 20 people, let's say maximum. What is gonna be like, because you cannot be like pushing people inside of the listener mode only and then bring them back, since the moment it's only like a handful of people. What be like the tricks and tips for small rooms to kind of try to push themselves a little bit upper on getting more traffic or more attention?
That's a great question. And I think the big thing is you have to treat it the same as you treat a big room. And it is important to move people up and down. I always encourage people to go out and find anywhere from 3 to 5 people that are like-minded, and then collaborate together to open a room. Because when you collaborate together, then you've got help from other people. And then, you can actually use a couple of those to move up and down from the stage, so that you're not, annoying somebody, or, if you got a good friend that you can DM and say, hey, or, ask them, hey, do you mind if I move you up and down the stage? But, if you've got, 3 to 5 moderators, then a couple of you guys could be doing that, going back and forth. And then, also pinging people in is very important. You can also do the search. So if you're speaking in, let's say you're teaching on LinkedIn, you can actually, type in LinkedIn for the search when you're going to ping people in, and make sure that you get people that are in alignment of the room, so that when they do come in, it's of value and they want to stay, so that you keep that retention. Because where you lose the numbers is, one, when people go in and out of the room quickly, because then Clubhouse says, oh, this isn't, a very interesting room, because people are leaving it. And, the pull to refresh is a big part of that as well. Whenever you create or open a room, you should be doing that pull to refresh all the time, because that's going to help the room as well. A lot of times I feel these hosts are opening the room and then they just expect people to show up, but they don't understand all the ins and outs. And, that's the main reason that I created How to Be an Amazing MC, because there's a difference between, just because you have that little star, white star with the green, not, the moderator badge, doesn't mean that you're going to have a successful room. And emceeing is really knowing the ins and outs, being able to keep the energy going. And as an MC, I can edify you and say, hey, make sure everybody's following Peter because he's an amazing curator here on Clubhouse. And you want to make sure that you are following him and hitting that always button, because when you do that always button, then you can morally and ethically stalk him. And anytime he is listening or speaking in a room, it's going to give you that notification. And anytime he schedules a room, you'll also get pinged in as that as well, so that you can schedule your time. So as a MC, I'm going to edify you and have people, encourage them to follow you. So that also builds your following. Where versus if you're in the room and say, hey, I'm great, follow me because you should follow me, know where I'm at. It just makes a different tone. And so even if you don't have a quote unquote MC, if you do have other collaborators in there in that room, they're going to edify you. And you guys, especially if there's, like-minded, I always tell them, take turns. So maybe you open the room the first night and then somebody else opens it the second night, or whatever. But then that just kind of gives everybody that opportunity to be, highlighted. And then you just edify as a team and grow up together. So does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. If anybody has any question, please feel free to put it in the chat. Meanwhile, I would like to ask you, because you mentioned something like looking for people that align with your room, and I only see like a very small amount of people I can ping to come to my room, because I don't have so many followers. I'm still like a startup on here. And I was wondering, if there's any way that you can check if they align with you when there's a search thing? Because the only thing I see is like the plus sign, you press it, and then you can see people who are online, like with the green button, and you can touch them, and that's it. I don't have like.
Yeah, no, first of all, I don't know how many people you are following, but I always recommend somebody coming onto the app, follow at least 500 people. So go into Clubhouse, listen, and make sure that you are, in the rooms that, are of your interest. And then as soon as you hear people that speak, the same language as you, or you resonate, or you really like what they're saying, then follow them. And like I said, try to get that 500 right away, because the more people you follow, the more rooms that are going to be of that same interest that will open up to you in the Clubhouse. And then where you hit that plus sign for the ping, that is where the search button is. And so then you can search the people that you're following, because you can only ping in people that you are following and that follow you back. And so the other thing that you need to do is make sure that, and that's why you want to have 3 to 5 other, especially if you guys are all new. I always say have 5 to 7 if you're really new, because then you are pinging more people in. So if all of you are pinging in, let's say you have the opportunity to ping in 20 people and there's 5 of you, now you've got marketing going out to at least 100 people. That's above and beyond just being in the hallway. Does that make sense?
100%, 100%. And Tonya has a question for you.
I was just going to read it. Okay, go ahead.
Jodeen, Tanya Gossage Performance Consulting. So how do you keep the moderators from bringing individuals to the stage without getting permission?
You should always have a back office conversation going on, backstage. And so when we bring people up, let's say you choose those 5 people, you start that, and then you can make that decision. Okay, we're not going to bring up any other moderators than us. You know, today I had the room that I had going on, and I was kind of interested to see if we were going to get any of the robots or, you know, kind of the problems. And we did get a few. And there was one that, you know, had some obscene things that he said, so I had to report him. And I do that. I want to keep the stages safe for other people. Obviously, if they feel comfortable to do it in my room, then we want to make sure that, you know, that doesn't happen to anybody else. But you know, that's a major concern. Paul, once again today, you know, his infamous answer, don't give him the moderator, don't give him the moderator badge, you know, and it's like, he's not using the app the same way that we are. And he once again said today, maybe I need to give in on this and understand it better. You know, I mean, I've been on since December 20th, and that has been a major complaint since then. So, I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for them to understand, you know, that, because the thing is too, is when you are doing the rooms in the way that we are, you have different levels. So in order to really edify that person and people can see them, you really need to have to give them that moderator badge so that they come to the top. Otherwise they get, especially, you know, I mean, I've been on stages where we've had, you know, 75 to 100 people on stage. That's a lot. And if you don't have the moderators towards the top, you are scrolling all over and you're like, yeah, you can talk, but who just spoke, you know, and then you got to scroll up and down looking for that person. So it can be really complicated. But yeah, the having that other, you know, we keep asking for it. Hopefully there'll be enough of us at some point, they'll get it, so that there are different levels of doing that. But as an MC, I set the stage and I'll say, hey, moderators, you know, we respect you. We know that you guys are the experts in this field. And at this point, we don't want any other moderators. So please do not, you know, moderate anybody else. And then I'll also say, hey, as everybody's coming on, if you would like to moderate other people, please go into the back office and let me approve it before you do it. And so, you know, that helps a lot too. Does that help you understand that?
It does. It does. Thank you.
And, you know, as the host and as the moderator, sometimes, you know, tough love, you know, we're there to have a good experience. And, you know, I know a major influencer, like, you know, he had somebody beginning haters, and all of a sudden there was a person that he didn't want on the stage that was there, you know, and, you know, it made it difficult. So, you know, it is a major problem. And unfortunately, Paul and Rohan don't see the problem in the way that we do. But hopefully, and I would say the other thing we can all do is explain in detail why we need to have more controls of the moderators. And the more specific and the more of us that, you know, express it, I think it'll be something that eventually they will go, okay, we need to do something about this.
And is there any like way of like kind of, I was just wanting to piggyback on the idea, is there any way that we can like restrict the stage, like to bring more people and to moderate it? Or, you know, let's say we have 5 people that are moderating, can we restrict the number of people that are gonna be moderating more or not? Like to be like literally like stopping right there.
Well, no, there's nothing. I mean, you as the host of the
Yes.
room can
Yes.
say, okay, I don't want any moderators. I mean, but there again, that's where having that important conversation in the background, you know, you can say, I'm only moderating. And that's why I always say, you know, set up your backstage conversation long before you open that room so that they understand where you're at, you know, that they stay on topic. And, you know, and especially if what happens too is somebody will get the moderator badge and they will, you know, express their opinion, whether it is, you know, right or wrong. And they can, you know, sometimes take control of the mic. And, you know, there again, as a host or as an MC, you know, you have to kind of take control of it again and say, hey, you know, I really appreciate you speaking into that, but we've got a lot of people on stage. And so, you know, I'm going to limit so that you only have 3 minutes to speak into the next subject, you know. So you know, there's a lot of things that go on. And, you know, I say overall, to have a successful room, you got to have tough love. and you can't be afraid to, stop people from, inviting people up. A lot of times, if you've been in a room with me, you'll hear the word mama bear just came out because I don't tolerate a few things, and I don't have a problem telling people what I don't tolerate. So today it was interesting because of the Android. I was not as much of a mama bear that I could have been. But the new thing too is when you go to report somebody, now you actually have to fill out a like a form on them. So if that happens, if you don't have somebody that you can lean in, like Kamika was in there and she's trained under me. So I was like, hey, Kamika, I need to take care of this. Can you grab the mic? And so then she was able to take over. Well, I had to fill out the form to report. There's, like I said, there was one guy that was, cussing on the stage, and I don't tolerate that.
No, it should not be. I mean, I think, the whole point of Clubhouse, especially because it's not like you cannot see the face of the person, and like they can be anybody. For me, it's like, mutual respect, and it's ladies and gentlemen, listen to ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen,
Right.
and as long as that thing is on the stage and everybody understands, it shouldn't be a problem. Unfortunately, I mean, I've been to quite some rooms, because for me to learn, I have to go to other rooms, and I've been to quite some rooms. I think every day at least 2 or 3 rooms, and yes, I heard some interesting debates about this, that they don't want people to be on the stage and cursing, how to limit. And I feel like like there's a lot of things that still needs to be set up by the Clubhouse to run to the proper, I would say, algorithms that it needs to, and to proper settings. I'm still trying to figure out if it's anything to do with time. Like for me, time, it's also another thing. Like, how much time, what is the time that is the best time to start a room, and how much time is going to be the best time to have a room? Because like, yeah, it's cool to run like a 24/7 marathon, but my question it is like, what about the rest of the things you have to do? They're like, there's a lot of people that are like living already in Clubhouse. I mean, yesterday somebody said that this is his 10 or 11 Clubhouse that he's been on, and he's talking for hours. And I think he was like somewhere in Europe, and he's like, well, I didn't sleep. It's already 4 in the morning, and I didn't want to sleep. I'm like, who's stopping you? He's like, like, nobody's stopping. You have to be conscious about, okay, 3 hours is the right time to have a Clubhouse. Okay, great, have 3 hours. So right. From your perspective, like, there's any like a best amount of time that to open a Clubhouse, like like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then you stop it, and what time you should start? What are if it's anything that's going to help you of choosing a weird time?
Great question. I will note to you that there are 300,000 rooms being opened every day. So that's a lot of rooms. The big thing I always tell everybody, don't put it on the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour. So that way you get off of that, 0:30. And so say you open the room at, because I think it's every 5 minutes, I think is what you can do it. So, open it up at 8:15 or 8:10 or 8:20. That way you're catching those people that are, jumping on, because not everybody jumps on the full hour, but everybody schedules their room to open up at, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. So I always tell everybody to open up on, the quarter hours, or, 10 after. And that's going to help you get some more people as well. The other thing too is when you are opening a room, one, you got to think about your avatar. Obviously, if you're opening a market, a room to market to, where is your avatar? Is your avatar 9 to 5? Are they on the app already? And I have earlier, it used to be if you opened a room like at, say, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, then that would be like 7 o'clock Central Standard Time and 8 o'clock for Eastern Time. So a lot of people were doing that. You know, in the evening, 5 o'clock in the evening is a good time period because people are getting off work. Now with summer, I don't know that that's, you know, as viable as it used to be, but in the wintertime, that was one thing. So the truth of all of it and where I put this answer is, I absolutely have no clue because the algorithm has been all over the place. And all I can do is tell you in any marketing concept, you know, test it again, and then test it some more, because that's the only way that you're going to find out.
Okay.
It doesn't help you much, does it?
Yeah, I'm trying to, you know, like, okay, so how, you know, how many tests I have to do, but, you know, like just in a nutshell, because I don't want to hold you too much time, you know, I know that we're approaching the 1 hour, even if we start a little bit late. However, in a nutshell, can you kind of like give like a few bullet points as an advice for somebody that's starting in Clubhouse, what they should be expecting, what is their fast pace, to say like this, to a successful room, and you know, like a few bullet points about each of these aspects of, you know, how to be a successful MC in the Clubhouse.
Right. Great question. And I would say, you know, in closing, first of all, what are your intentions? What is it that you want out of Clubhouse? If you're going on for just the social aspect, you know, and you just want to be able to connect and network with people, and you're not really looking to make any money, then know that. And then go into the rooms that resonate with you. Do the searches, find out what your interests are, and you can actually search clubs through interest, and then jump into those rooms and those clubs and just enjoy it. It's very addictive. So, you know, if you have to limit your time, you know, say, okay, you know, like obviously when I was on there almost 80 hours for those first couple of weeks, I was like, okay, you know, I didn't do laundry for 18 days. You know, I mean, there's a little bit of reality that sets in there. And even Kate and Dan, you know, we laugh at them because they were eating cupcakes for breakfast because there was nothing else left in the house. You know, they hadn't even been out to buy groceries. And so, you know, you kind of just have to say, okay, what is my intentions? What do I want to come on this app for? And, you know, if you are going on there to specifically find clients, then, you know, say, okay, where's my avatar? When would my avatar be on here? Are they professionals? Are they going to be here in the evening after work? You know, what is it? You know, figure that out. It's just like any other app on that application. But the biggest part of that is when you get on the stage, don't sell yourself. There are some that are pitches, but in general, people get really turned off if you say, I'm here, I'm going to sell you something, make sure you buy from me. That will probably halt your experience on Clubhouse pretty quickly, because most of the stages are set up for you to be servant leaders. As an expert, you come up and you speak into them. And then if people are resonating, if they like you, then they'll follow you. And, you know, right now, I think I have about 15,000 followers. I'm probably pretty low for the number of days that I've been on there. I did jump off the app after I got done with that 20 days and, you know, created some courses and got my mastermind together. But, you know, the other part of that is I'm not a follow sucker. I call the ones that will jump on stage and not be present and just, you know, take the follows. I don't think that that's the right thing to do. And I've never done that. There was one time that I fell asleep on the stage and I felt really horrible about it. But, you know, I mean, it was like 2-3 in the morning and I literally was crashing. But overall, I, you know, try to be present on the stage. I treat it as a business. So my office is set up. I've got books. I make notes of who's been speaking, you know, where they're from. And I look at the bios. I'm not a real big person on all the bios just because I've read so many of them. Some people are really obsessed with the bios and will actually almost repeat the whole bio when they introduce them. My theory on that is we have the bio there for people to read it if they want to learn more. And I will, sometimes maybe draw a couple of things out of their bio, but I don't read the whole bio, to do that introduction for them. And then, just have fun. Here's the thing, on all the other applications that we're on, we can hire some really good copywriters to make us look good. And it happens all the time. But on Clubhouse, you are authentically you. Your morals and integrity come out in your voice. The tonality is very, very important. We teach and speak a lot into tonality. We also, speak into like anger management. We teach on that so people can understand when there's conflict, how to handle that. And then we also teach on improv and how we can, use improv to deter and turn the room around. So we use a lot of different techniques and teach into that. So it's really important to make sure that you understand, what is your purpose for coming onto the app. That way you can curate your experience to meet the needs of what your expectations are. So I guess in a short term, that would be my bullet points.
Yeah. So basically, like you come with an intention, you have an intention. Now you create like a short video that just for people to read for you about you. Then you have to set up, wherever you're gonna be like speaking about what you're gonna try to talk about, or the rooms, the message, the skills that they're gonna share. Then you're gonna have to find some people to partner up with to create like a joint, maybe 5, 7, 8 people. Yeah, at the beginning, especially if you're new to Clubhouse. Yes. And then be respectful. Yeah, very important.
Yes. Yeah.
And do not.
The other thing,
yeah.
when you come up on the stage, your mic is hot. That's probably one of the biggest first learning things, because they don't automatically mute you when you come up to the stage. And so sometimes people will get stuck in the queue. So it's just because you raise your hand doesn't mean that you're going to come on the stage right away. But if you do raise your hand, you need to be paying attention because you have a hot mic. We call that a hot mic, where especially if you've got kids in the background, or your Lord be, please don't take your telephone or your phone. Don't take Clubhouse to the bathroom, please. I've heard a few flushing toilets and a few other things, and it's like, get the mic off.
Mute.
So that's the other important thing. One of the things we teach in the course as well is make sure your mic is not in there, or you don't take the app to the bathroom.
Yes, I think I heard also those things, but yeah, a little bit of echo.
Oh, and yeah, there's definitely been people that have been in the bathtub, and one woman I know, she's forever always, and she's like, oh, I'm in the shower. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care about if you're in the shower. That's, keep it clean. So.
Yeah, I think she's very clean there. But anyhow, if not, she can add some soap. But anyhow, yeah, I think everybody's kind of finding, because this is I think it's one of the beauty of Clubhouse, that you don't see the visuals. So you can be anywhere. I mean, and just say, I want to talk, and let me talk.
The introverts are loving it because they're getting over their shyness. There's a lot of, openness, and people they learn to be very comfortable, and more people have shared, deeper, intimate thoughts and experiences on Clubhouse than any other app that I've ever seen. And then the other thing too is, the rooms are pretty interesting. I was in the room where the first baby was born at. We were in the delivery room up until, till she started pushing. And then also I've been to the first wedding on Clubhouse. I literally thought that it was like next week and that we were, going to be, but no, they were on their way to they were in Las Vegas, and they were on their way to the chapel. And so we rode with them, and we got to talk to them and got to be a part of the wedding. And then, I was at the first pageant on Clubhouse. Mr. Clubhouse I was one of the judges for Mr. Clubhouse and Ms. Clubhouse. So, I mean, there's lullaby rooms where you can fall asleep, and people actually sing you to sleep. Daraj does every night a room on positivity. So you can, for your subconscious mind, he's always reading a book on either Think and Grow Rich or Napoleon Hill. He's got a lot of great things. And so, I can almost assure you, out of the 300,000 rooms, if you cannot find a room that resonates with you, I honestly don't know what to tell you.
You have to stick with your shower, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's only thing.
Yeah, if you can't find it, I'd say don't come on the app.
Yeah. No, I mean, I saw some Clubhouse that were like, it was a Clubhouse for karaoke singing. And I'm like thinking like, okay, I cannot, like, I don't know, I'm trying to, I just went there in there, just to listen. Somebody was trying his voice. I want to say how good he was singing because it's not here the purpose. But I'm trying to imagine, like you looking on YouTube, finding your song, and then you find it, and then you put it in the Clubhouse, and you sit there and you're reading, like kind of. It's like I don't feel like Clubhouse is meant for that, but I guess because, like you said earlier, people they get more courage because they're not seeing visually, and then they can say whatever they want because they're gonna be safe.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like, what like from your perspective, what will be the most successful, let's say 5 to 10 topics that you think it will worthwhile to bring it to Clubhouse, no matter what is your goals or whatever it is as a topic.
You know what? I will tell you, whatever you think will work, it will work. Literally, I have not, my first room was on how to do a successful virtual live summit, and nobody showed up for that first room. But then when I opened it up and it was very similar topic, I had 30 to 40 people in there. So, and I was in a room where a woman was a top-notch pianist, but she was playing to relieve stress in dogs. So it was a room about bringing your dog to Clubhouse. And so she was playing it specifically to calm the dogs. And I was almost asleep myself. It was very therapeutic. So, that's another room that I've been in. So, I literally need to just sit down someday and say, okay, these are truly, the most amazing rooms that I've been in. I've been in so many different ones. I was actually in a Italian room. I don't know a word of Italian. I don't understand a word of Italian. And they were playing music. So I was able to understand that because it was, American music. And they had a translator. So when it was my turn to speak, then they translated the question they were asking me, and then they translated it back. So, I didn't even speak their language, and I was in one of their rooms, and they invited me back several times.
Magic. Is that magic or not?
Yeah. So I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what the room is. And, the Italian room was on a law of attraction. And so, I spoke into what I knew on the law of attraction, and it worked. We brought Master Sri Akashana on when I pinged him into a private room. If you guys have ever followed any law of attraction on YouTube, yeah. He is the yogi with the Lamborghini. And so we brought him on, and, now he has over 15,000 followers. His club has grown to over 17,000 followers. And, each day I emceed for him and got his following up there and spoke into the law of attraction. And so, there are all kinds of opportunities. The major influencer that I'm bringing in now, he works with virtual assistants. And so, we're creating rooms and creating a following for him. So, you literally, anybody and everybody can come on to this app as long as they are willing to put the time and the effort into it. And one of the keys too, I will say, I always tell everybody, if you're going to come onto a room and you really want to do a successful room, plan on at least 3 hours. Because what happens is that first hour, it will kind of, be okay. About an hour and a half, it really starts to happen. And usually around that 2 to 3 hours is when it really starts to pop. And there's nothing worse than getting a room active and interaction and getting some great conversation going. And then you've got a hard stop and you got to close the room. And there again, if you have that collaboration, if one of you has to jump off, then, the others can keep it going.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you have to plan ahead and to kind of have different, say, times that you're gonna endure, and maybe similar topics. I'm assuming that everybody has to be on the similar topic, not to be like one talking about south, the other one for north, and yeah, sounds very intriguing, especially for me that I'm trying to learn this one right now. But well, lucky we know you, and we know that you have this amazing group, and I've been to quite a few rooms that you've been emceeing, and I heard about talking about the mama bear a few times, so I know that you are the one. I have no doubts about that. And I also know that you have this amazing masterclass and mastermind. And can you talk a little bit about those one for those one they're gonna listen later? How they can find more about you and what you offer, and also about the how they can get your master class about the Clubhouse and everything, so they can learn more about that.
Yep. When I was in that room, probably the biggest thing that I found was that, people were coming in asking for strategies, asking for the blueprints, asking for, that magical answer to help, get them into the next level of their business. And one time Grant Cardone had called me into his room to MC for him. And this lady started to ask him for, she was asking him for $50,000 so that she could grow her business. And Grant was asking questions. And finally I said, Grant, can I ask her a question? And of course he's like, sure, what do you got? And so I asked her, I said, did you apply the blueprint for the funnel that Trey had given you 3 days ago? Excuse. No, she hadn't. And I said, look, why would, I have to say, I'm going to encourage Grant not to give you the $50,000 at this point, because Trey gave you the perfect blueprint to earn $1 million and create $1 million business with that funnel that he gave you 3 days ago. I said, I'm speaking with love, but here's the deal. Entrepreneurship is work. And if you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to get anywhere. I said, because it means sometimes you have to readjust, or you have to, schedule in. I said, but Trey gave you that blueprint, and I can tell you inside and out that is a guaranteed $1 million business. I said, but yet you're in here with Grant asking for 50,000, willing to give away 50% of your business. I said, why would you do that when you can keep every penny of it if you just do the work? And somebody said, who was that? And Grant goes, that's your mama bear talking. And so when I realized the whole point of that story is people will, if they don't have the right mindset, if they're not tuned into knowing that they have the power within, they're always going to be looking for greener grass. And so Tanya says, I believe I was on that day. Yeah, a lot of people were. It was a big room. But I realized that the mindset, if you don't deal with the mindset, then, people are not going to be successful. So what I did is, as soon as I got done with the 20-day room, I came on to Clubhouse and I did, I call it speed dating with Think and Grow Rich. And so we do 21 consecutive days. And each night we cover a chapter of Think and Grow Rich. And so I just servant leadership. We did 3 of those. And when that was done, people wanted to go to the next level. So I created the 365 mastermind. And what we do is we meet every morning, and for about anywhere from 60, sometimes it'll go 90 minutes, just depending on, if we've got some deep conversation going on. But we take the chapter of Think and Grow Rich, and we kind of try that we apply the different modalities for that chapter. And right now we're speaking into faith. And John Asrath is from The Secret, and he speaks into the neuroscience and the logic of how people market and whatnot. And so right now we're implementing a lot of his techniques as we go. We've done scripting, the power of the scripting, and spoke into that. And so each chapter we try to pull in a specialized knowledge and go that way with it. So that's why I've created the mastermind, is just so that we can keep people going in the right direction. And probably the biggest problem that I had on the app of Clubhouse was getting people from point A to point B. I would get done at about 12 o'clock at night, speaking in that 20-day room, and I would have anywhere from 200 to 300 DMs in my DM. And it would really stress me out because I felt obligated to return those messages. So I would stay up anywhere from 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was averaging probably about 3 to 4 hours of sleep during that time period. And SocialTap came in and literally saved my life of getting more sleep on the app. And if you go to Jodeen.club, you can see all the different applications that I have. And that's how I get people into my funnel, because, it doesn't do us any good. I think
it's here.
Yep,
right here.
It's right up there. I thank you. I appreciate that. And so when you go there, you will see, like, I've kept everything on there just as an example, but I've got free PDFs on there for the scripting. And then if you really like that platform, it's only $60 a month, a year. So you can literally have your business up and running. And then I just grabbed the URL Jodeen.club because it was easy to remember. I'm on Clubhouse, and it really worked really good for me. If you're going to try to grab your name right now, I can tell you, yourname.club is probably not going to be there, because a lot of people went in and bought those domains. And I bought a few of them because that was one of the tips that one of the guys, when they came through. And I've had a couple of inquiries of purchasing them. So, if I make $4 or $5 off of them, I make $4 or $5 off of them. It's more money than I had before. So, Russell Brunson talks about that all the time. If you spend $1 and you make $1, you make $2, you're $1 ahead. And so, you got to look at how that works. And, that's one of the ways that people from point A to point B is to create the SocialTap, and then they can go to all the different links right there.
100%. And so everybody can go there to Jodeem.club, and you can find all about the mastermind, about the Clubhouse, about everything that they offer, and how they can learn more about you. And of course, you have to look for Jodeen on Clubhouse and make sure you're gonna follow her. That's very important. That's actually crucial, because
because you'll get into some interesting rooms. I will guarantee that.
Well, hopefully not in the one with the shower, except that one I'm fine. I'm a little bit thinking about that one a little bit, but yeah, except that one, everything is good. We hope to to have some more rooms from you. Actually, I didn't see you very often. I mean, I'm not very much on Clubhouse, but every time I'm coming, I'm looking for you to see you on actively and to see you there. But I saw you, I think a few days ago. I think on Friday I saw you for a few minutes. I think it was Friday.
Yeah, I've actually pulled off. I've got acreage, and we're getting ready for spring. So we have 11 horses, and so I've been cleaning pins outside and getting the garden going. So I'm not on right now as much as I normally, and I haven't looked at my screen time. I haven't dared look. But actually right now, I've probably the least that I've been on. But part of that is, reality is setting in, and, I do have to get to real life. And now rodeo season will be starting. And, it was nice because my daughters were off to college. So really I was an empty nester. And so I didn't have any interruptions, and I didn't have to worry about cooking food for people. So I had a little bit more liberty of, doing what I wanted to do, but now I will have some time constraints, and I will have to kind of schedule and be a little bit more strategic. But, you know, overall, they respect my time on Clubhouse. My granddaughter thinks it's so cool. And the other day she was over here and I had her talking to some people on Clubhouse, and she just thinks it's pretty cool that grandma's on Clubhouse. And, you know, she's always asking me about, have you been on Clubhouse lately, grandma? You know, she's only 8 years old. And I'm like, what do you know about Clubhouse? So
it's a good way to go to sleep. That's what she knows. It's like you put the Clubhouse, you listen to some people that has a mellow voice, and you're done. You don't
well,
need
you
more
know,
than
when she's been over here, she's listening, and it's really interesting though that she has really picked up on the positivity and, you know, all of the influence. I mean, even though she's been kind of playing in the background, and it hasn't been a lot of times, but I was really surprised. But, you know, she's very intuitive, she's very mature. They her other grandma has a greenhouse, and literally she knows. She's only 8 years old, and like I did a little video on her the other day going through the greenhouse, and I mean, she knew like 95% of the plants. And there was a couple of them like, I'm like, hang on, I got to check that. You know, I have a horticulture degree, and I was like, you're testing my memory here. So
well, they're growing and they become smarter and smarter, and we have to keep it up with them.
exactly.
Otherwise, we're gonna be left behind. The new generation is already like swiping right and swiping left, and we're still like figure out why we have to do that. But yeah, and
You know, one thing I'm going to tell you too, on Clubhouse, and this was interesting because the room that I was in today, Thomas was in there, and Thomas is actually blind. And sometimes you will hear people say, you know, my name is Jodeen and I'm complete. And when you start hearing the moderators talk about that, more than likely they know that there is either a hearing impaired or a blind person in there. And it was interesting when Thomas came in there. You know, one of the things I always talk about is the little green icon at the top of my title is where our club is. And he goes, I always laugh at that. He goes, because he goes, I can't see the color green. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. You know, so, you know, it's just the little things like that that you have to kind of adjust. And I'm actually going to get with Thomas and have a conversation, because he swipes up and down and he gets the audible. And, you know, I was like, oh my, and I didn't even think about too, no, he can't read our names, you know, on the stage, like, and that's a big part of it. And he goes, no, he goes, I can tell. He goes, I definitely know Jodeen's voice. And he goes, so I do the, you know, the hearing visual. And he goes, I can tell who it is by their voice tones and everything. And so I'm going to get with him so that I can make sure that we're teaching a little bit better for the blind. Because, you know, I know with the audible, they type in. So like Rachel is one of the lady that's on Clubhouse, and she's deaf. And so that's why you say, my name is Jodeen and I'm complete, is because on when they're typing it in, it doesn't give any indication of the tonalities of the voice. So it looks like it's one long conversation if you're not, you know, ending and starting your name with your name. And so that's how we help them. So I just wanted to put that in because that was a new thing that I learned today on the blind. So
wow, yeah, it's good to know. I mean, I've been hearing everybody saying, you know, this is Peter, I'm complete, you know, and I heard a lot of people, you know, are saying the same thing, and I start to say it also, but you know, I just feel like, you know, sometimes when it's a small room, I'm like, there are only 6 people here. Why should I, you know? And
yeah, I'm not as
but I
good at it.
guess,
Yeah.
yeah. I just feel
But
like, you know, like
I am
sometimes I'm like,
respectful.
yeah.
Tanya said, I'm glad to know that too. Yeah, I'm respectful because I follow Rachel and she follows me. So it pings me when she enters the room. So then I always say, hey, Rachel's in the room. Everybody make sure that you're, you know, being respectful and using your name at the beginning, at the end. So that way, you know, we help her. And the other thing too, you have to give grace. So if there are any of the impairments in the room, and I was talking to Thomas today, one of the recommendations that I want to do is I would like for Thomas to be able to register with Clubhouse that he's got an impairment. And so then when he would enter the room, it would ping to the moderators and the host that they were in the room, because then they can serve them better. Because like you said, when there's 6, like I would have never known that Thomas was blind because he's just standing there with his sunglasses on. A lot of people have those sunglasses on. And like he says, he respects that because like, you know, if he's, you know, walking down the street, he walks the normal way. But as soon as people see his cane, then they know that he's blind, you know. But here on the app, we don't see that cane. We don't give them any indication. So that was one of the things that I was going to send into Clubhouse, and you know, so that we can serve them better too.
Why don't you open a room about that? Like,
I probably will. Like I said, I did
yeah,
remember hearing Thomas, but he's also a pianist. So he plays music. And so I believe I heard him, or he was in, I know he was in a room, but you know, I just didn't dawn on me of all the other things. I just thought it was amazing that he was playing the piano. And so then we didn't get to have any other, you know, deeper conversation. And then today he came into the room and I was able to have a deeper conversation. So yeah, we probably will try and open up a room.
maybe get a few more people with different limitations. So in that way, instead for addressing one, you address all of them, and you create like a package of limitations. And maybe in that way, Clubhouse is going to be more open to listen, because I'm pretty sure that if more people were going to put the same thing, if you're going to share with everybody, then I'm gonna, you know, send it the same way like you send it. So in that way, more people, they're gonna request the same thing.
Right.
Otherwise,
yeah, and you know, there has been a lot of rooms, especially on with like when Rachel came on, you know, there was a lot of rooms trying to help her and make sure, you know, we all understood it. And through my what it is, or how to be an amazing MC, one of the gentlemen that took my course, he actually is from South Dakota, and he actually has works for the state library, and so that he does like the braille and the audible for the books. So he really helped me understand, you know, the impairment for the deaf, and you know, all the things that we need to do. And so he was opening a lot of rooms in that regards too. So
okay, well, definitely, you know, like just let us know. We are here, like everybody here, that, you know, we're not so much now live, but we're gonna be more on the YouTube, on the Facebook, on the group. I'm gonna post this video inside of my WhatsApp group and my my LinkedIn page. I'm bigger on LinkedIn than anywhere else. I have like almost 15,000 followers on LinkedIn, and I will definitely bring this up to them, and also there to see, you know, what it should be like to help, because at the end of the day, you know, being aware of, it's one step forward to the solution. Because if all of us were aware of, like you brought it right now, at least we can help you on with you know, with the goals that you have on pushing towards. And hopefully, you know, I'm hoping that everything is going to be more, because I feel like there's a lot of missing things. Like today, one of my Clubhouse link disappeared. I don't know why. I tried to press it and it says that your meeting ended. I'm like, I never opened it, but it's fine. And
how long after it was scheduled?
It was scheduled for 6:45, and it was 6:20, and I went there to kind of prepare myself, and it was gone. I'm like, wow.
So before you opened it, or before it was scheduled, it was gone?
Yep. And I couldn't find it. So what I did, I started a new one. But I was like, you know, what are the algorithms? What it works to make it disappear? And the other thing, I was trying to kind of, like, you go to BIOS and you see all these things, you see links, a website, and you cannot click on any of them. You cannot click on nothing on the bio. You only can click on the Twitter link and the Instagram link. And
there
I
are
think
no
that,
direct messaging. Nope. And but you know, at the same time, that's the coolness of Clubhouse. You know, they're very much, you know, if you've ever been in a clubhouse or like a golf course, there's you know, there's some prestige things that happen, and you know, that's kind of one of them.
Well, what I was trying to say, that, you know, in the bio, you have people that put their links where you have to go, and I'm trying, instead for me to copy the entire sausage that has all the
That's why you have Jodeen,
you know.
Club. That's why you have Jodeen.club.
yes, because you cannot click on it. And I'm like, okay, they told me to go to their bio because I'm gonna have their information there, and I'm like, I'm like, okay, so now I have to take the bio and take a pen and paper and trying to put everything
Yeah,
down
well, and
because it
that's
doesn't.
yes,
Yeah.
as you're marketing, you got to make it easy for them, because each time that they have to type something in, you have a greater chance of losing them. And that's
Yep.
why, you know, when I did the Jodeen.club, that was, you know, a lifesaver for me. And the other thing I always tell people too is, you know, go to my bio and on Instagram, and you can click on Instagram, and then I have the Jodeen.club there, and that's a clickable link. So it makes it easier. So, you know, if somebody really has to rely on that clickable link like me, because I do not like to have to type in a URL.
Yeah,
URLs and I
especially.
are not compatible most of the time.
Well, I'm not so like, you know, like compatibility, but it's like, especially if you have a weird name or weird stuff and it's like 25 characters after, I'm like, okay, I'm lost. Now I have to go back to figure out. And if they tell me once, it's like, and especially the room is closing, I'm like, okay, I think I lost everything that they say. But anyhow, well, anyhow, it was a great pleasure to have you here. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate everything that you did for us and all the knowledge that you share with us. And we don't want to hold you anymore. I know it's still Mother Day, no matter what. And
Well, actually, I have a little puppy here, and well, he's not real little, but there's a Chihuahua and a blue heeler, and the Chihuahua is out barking the the blue heeler. So if you hear noises in the background, that's what's going on.
that's one of the beauty, you know, because it seems more natural, so it's fine. We need to. I mean, it's not echo, so it's good. But anyhow, thank you very much one more time, Jodeen. Thank you everybody for coming tonight, and see you next week, and see you on the Clubhouse for sure. I'm looking forward to come in your rooms again, and maybe I'm
Yes,
gonna come on the stage. We'll
I
talk a
was
little bit
gonna
more.
say, come up on the stage and remind me that you guys were on here. I'd love to hear. And Tanya, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to speak to you on anything I can. And you know, the big thing about Clubhouse is be yourself, enjoy it, and you know, let the fun begin and enjoy the journey.
100%. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody. Have a
All
wonderful,
right,
wonderful
see ya.
Sunday.
Thank you, Pierre.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.